I still remember that bus ride like it was yesterday. It was late February of 2019, a freezing gray morning in Columbus, Ohio. I was 29 years old, weighed 348 pounds, and even though the bus was crowded, every seat around me stayed empty. People would get on, scan for a spot, glance at me, and then choose to stand gripping the pole, swaying with the bus rather than sit down beside me. I pretended not to notice, but inside it tore me apart. That wasn't the first time it happened. But something about that day, the silence, the avoidance, the way a woman actually hesitated before sitting down and then moved farther down the aisle, it broke something inside me. When I finally got off the bus, I caught my reflection in the glass of a storefront. I didn't recognize myself. Puffy face, sweat beading on my forehead from just sitting there, shirt buttons straining, my whole body aching from the simple act of existing. And in that moment, with traffic rushing by and the wind stinging my face, I whispered to myself, if I can control my mind, truly control it, then my weight loss is only a matter of time. My name's Daniel Ruiz. I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio, and at the time of this story, I was living in Columbus, working as an IT support technician. I'd always been the big kid. In high school, I was 260 pounds by the time I graduated. My parents both worked long hours. Mom was a nurse pulling double shifts. Dad drove trucks, so dinner was often takeout, pizza, Chinese, McDonald's. And I ate like food was my best friend because in many ways it was. By my mid-20s, I was addicted to soda. 3-4 cans a day. Fast food for lunch, microwave dinners at night. Late-night snacking was my weakness. Chips, Pop-Tarts, leftover pizza, whatever was easy. Exercise, non-existent. My gym shoes collected dust in the closet. The most walking I did was from my desk to the parking lot. The weight started showing up in ways I couldn't ignore. Knee pain, constant fatigue, blood pressure readings that made my doctor frown, clothes stretched to the limit, 3XL shirts, size 48 waist jeans. Every photo of me I either cropped myself out or deleted. Socially, I hid. I avoided dating apps, skipped weddings, dreaded family gatherings where relatives would whisper, "Wow, he's gotten so big." I felt trapped in my own body, ashamed and invisible at the same time. The bus ride was the spark, but the real breaking point came a few weeks later. I had an annual checkup with Dr. Patel, my primary care doctor. I stepped on the scale, 348 pounds. She sighed, adjusted her glasses, and went over my blood work. My cholesterol was high, my blood pressure borderline dangerous, and my A1C was at the threshold for pre-diabetes. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "Daniel, if you don't make changes now, you're going to be diabetic within a year. And honestly, you're at risk for a heart attack in your 30s. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, but she didn't laugh. She leaned forward, her voice steady. "I've seen patients your age end up in the ER. Don't be one of them." That night, alone in my apartment, I sat on the edge of my bed with a notebook in my lap. For the first time in years, I forced myself to be brutally honest. I wrote, "I am 29 years old, 348 pounds. I get winded walking up one flight of stairs. I feel ashamed of my body every single day. If I don't change, I won't live to see 40. I cried writing those words, but in the middle of that breakdown, something shifted. I thought about all the moments I had missed, playing basketball with friends, hiking with cousins, even simple things like going to an amusement park without worrying if I'd fit in the seat. And I thought about that bus ride, the empty seat beside me. That was it. That was my line in the sand. I promised myself, this time I'm going to change. No more half-hearted diets, no more excuses. This time, I'll fight for my life." The first week was hell. I cleared my kitchen of junk food, bags of chips, frozen pizzas, soda cans. I downloaded MyFitnessPal and started logging everything I ate. My daily calories went from over 4,000 down to 2,200. Suddenly, my comfort foods were gone, and cravings hit me like a freight train. Day 3, I was pacing my apartment at midnight, stomach growling, staring at the vending machine outside my complex. I almost gave in, but I told myself, not this time. I drank a glass of water, clenched my fists, and went to bed. Exercise was even worse. My first trip to the gym, I lasted 12 minutes on the elliptical. My legs burned, sweat poured down, and I thought people were staring at me, the fat guy huffing and puffing out of place. I nearly walked out embarrassed, but then I remembered Dr. Patel's words and I stayed, even if it was only 12 minutes. I kept a log. March 3rd, 348 lbs. March 10th, 343 lbs. March 17th, 339 lbs. Those first few pounds gave me hope. My jeans felt slightly looser. I could breathe easier. Still, doubt crept in. Friends rolled their eyes when I ordered salads instead of burgers. One coworker said, "Dan, you've tried diets before. You'll quit in a month." That stung. But every morning before breakfast, I had started a little ritual, something I'll talk more about later, that gave me just enough energy, just enough fire to push through those early days. By May, 2 months in, I was down 27 pounds, 321 lbs. I remember stepping on the scale and whispering, "It's working." One morning, climbing the stairs to my office, I reached the top and realized I wasn't gasping. I wasn't drenched in sweat. That tiny victory felt bigger than anything. At the gym, I started adding weight training. Just machines at first, then dumbbells. My body ached, but I kept showing up. I wasn't chasing perfection. I was chasing consistency. Meal prep became my lifeline. Sundays I'd roast chicken, chop vegetables, pack containers of rice and broccoli. My fridge looked like a bodybuilder's. Neat rows of meals, ready to grab. And slowly, my mindset shifted. I stopped saying, "I can't have pizza." Instead, I said, "I choose not to have pizza, because I'm choosing a different life." The biggest breakthrough came in June. I dug out an old pair of size 46 jeans I had buried in my closet. I slid them on, and for the first time in years, they buttoned without effort. I stood in front of the mirror, tears in my eyes, whispering, "I'm coming back." Every morning I still did my special routine. Before breakfast, that one little thing that made me feel energized, sharper, focused. It was like my secret weapon. By September, 6 months in, I hit 280 pounds. That was 68 pounds gone. My doctor's face lit up when she saw my new numbers. Cholesterol down, blood pressure in the safe range, A1C back to normal. She said, "Daniel, you just added years to your life." In October, I signed up for a local 5K charity walk. I didn't run, but I finished. Crossing that finish line, sweaty and sore, I felt like I had conquered Mount Everest. Shopping became fun again. I remember standing in the fitting room at Kohl's, sliding into a size XL shirt, not 3XL. I took a photo in the mirror and sent it to my mom. She texted back, "That's the son I remember." By January 2020, less than a year since that bus ride, I was 245 pounds, over 100 pounds lost. And people noticed. Friends I hadn't seen in months did double takes. One old buddy actually said, "Dude, I didn't recognize you at first." But the biggest moment? February 2020. I got back on that same bus route, and for the first time, people sat beside me. Without hesitation, I almost cried right there. Looking back now, years later, I don't hate my old self. I understand him. He was hurting, lonely, stuck in cycles of stress and comfort eating. But I've learned something powerful. Discipline beats motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline, showing up when you don't feel like it. That's what changes your life. I also learned patience. It took decades to gain that weight, so of course it wasn't going to vanish overnight. Progress wasn't always linear. Some weeks I lost nothing. Some weeks I gained a pound back. But consistency won. I even wrote down my entire routine, every meal plan, every workout, every morning ritual, so I'd never forget the path I took. Today I'm 213 pounds, that's 135 pounds gone. I hike now. I play basketball with my nephews. I go on dates without fear. I walk into a room and don't shrink away. I stand tall. But more than the weight, I gained freedom. Freedom to move, to breathe, to live without shame. If you're listening to this and you feel stuck, hopeless, buried in the same pain I once felt, please believe me. Change is possible. You don't need to do everything at once. Just start. Start with one meal, one walk, one choice. And don't stop. I'm not special, I'm not superhuman. I'm just a guy who decided one day enough, and that decision saved my life. So if you're sitting there, feeling like people avoid you, feeling invisible, or broken, I promise, you can rewrite your story. The hardest step is the first one, but once you take it, everything begins to change. And I'll leave you with this: if I could do it, you can too.